Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions. Masud, thank you so much for joining us for the Mike Litton Experience. I know how busy you are, and I cannot thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this with us. It really means the world to me from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. And Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Happy to be on. Thank you for supporting us, and anything I could do to support great people like yourself, I'm definitely here to do that. So excited to have a great conversation with you today.
Appreciate you, bud. So just like we talked about before we hit record, everybody has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And the thing we get excited about is we're going to have you tell your life story today. And what's going to happen is people are going to hear it and they're going to connect with you any number of ways, right? It might be where you went to school. It might be your favorite subject. It might be that you have a daughter, whatever, right? Could be Rady's Children's Hospital, which I know we'll talk about in a little bit. So what we know is people will connect with you, and what will happen through that connection is it'll inspire and motivate them to go do things that they were thinking about doing. But because you did it and because they connected with you, they'll go out and do it. And we're all about inspiration and motivation here. Okay. So with that, if it's okay with you, let's start at the very beginning. Where were you born?
I was born in Kabul, Afghanistan.
Okay.
Back in 1978. So
okay.
It's been some time.
Couple years ago.
Couple years ago, yeah. I was born there and lived there until I was about, I believe, 5 years old or so, 4 or 5 years old, somewhere around that time. I don't remember it much, but I remember vividly some of the streets, our house, but didn't get raised up there. The war happened, the Cold War with the Russians and Afghanistan, and luckily my father and mother decided to do a courageous act and leave everything in Afghanistan and to immigrate to Pakistan. So it was during that time that we had to leave and pretty much move from the border of Afghanistan to Pakistan. And really, they did something that was really, at the time, I didn't know. I was a little kid. Obviously, I didn't know what was going on, but they did something that was really courageous. And for them to leave everything behind and move to Pakistan, but they did it in a way where we had to. It was days of getting through. People helped us to get across, because at that time you weren't able to really freely leave because the war was happening.
Right.
So
everything kind of locked down.
Yeah, locked down. But luckily, my father had the means and connections to help us get across, and we did. But from what my mom was telling me, there were some scary times where during that process that we got stopped. My father even had a gun pulled on him, as far as, like, what you're doing, but I'm not sure exactly what he said, but he used his leadership skills to help us get across. So thankfully, we then stayed in Pakistan for about a year or so until we were ready to get sponsored by my aunt that lived in the States. And from there, then we moved over to, from all places, Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so we were there for a year, and all I remember is just great childhood experiences. I don't remember all these things that I'm talking to you about. I just remember a lot of love, connection with my family, and just a good time running around the different streets. If it was Afghanistan, Pakistan, and then I was in Nebraska for a short period of time, and just having a lot of fun as a kid. And then from there, we moved to um, New York, Bronx, because my grandparents were there. And then we were there for I think a less than a year, and then finally made our way to California. So happy. My dad and he had some friends that lived in San Diego. They talked to him how great San Diego was, and then luckily we came here. So I'm just really blessed and grateful and fortunate that my parents made that decision to move to the States, and then from all places ended up in San Diego. And pretty much my childhood, I grew up here in San Diego, went
That's
to
awesome.
middle.
That's awesome. So
Yeah,
you're born in Kabul.
correct.
You make your way to, it sounds like your parents left everything behind.
They did.
They make their way to Pakistan. It sounds like you barely get into Pakistan. And then you end up in Omaha, Nebraska, of all places, right? For a
Correct.
year. And then from there you go to the Bronx, and then from there you go to San Diego. So you've been sort of, right? I mean, what a trip, huh? I mean,
Yeah,
that's amazing. So my son, Michael, they call him Little Michael, even though he's 6'5" and wears a size 14 men's shoe, right? He's way bigger than me. Michael went to school at University of Nebraska at Lincoln
oh, okay.
and has a ton of friends in Omaha, right? And his freshman year, he met a girl that who's Afghani by heritage, right?
Sure.
And her mom had immigrated to Lincoln from Afghanistan, and her dad. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So Michael couldn't come home because he finished school on Thanksgiving. He finished school at the end of Wednesday. And so there really wasn't any way to get him home unless we flew him home on Thanksgiving, kind of thing. So we didn't fly him home for 4 years. He stayed there. He went to Thanksgiving dinner at this lady's house, this girl's mom's house, right?
Mhm.
In Lincoln. They practically adopted him. And so we call her his Afghan mom.
That's funny.
And he literally went to Thanksgiving dinner every year, Thanksgiving, for 5 Thanksgivings. Okay. He was there 4.5 years. So he was there 5. They had 88 people there the last year he was there.
Yeah.
For Thanksgiving dinner in one house. And I was in that house, and it's not that big. Okay.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Okay. And he would always go home with this thing of leftovers, and like he'd go there like weekly, and she'd feed him, and right. The kid loves Afghan food. He just thinks that's the best food on the planet now. I mean, he is, and he's completely in love with this woman that we call his Afghan mom, right? And we went back there for his graduation, halfway through his 5th year, right?
Yeah.
And we ended up taking her to dinner. We went over and took her some flowers and thanked her for, loving on our son for so long. And she cried, and my mother cried, and we all cried. It was a mess, but it was really cool. And we took her out to dinner to thank her and all that kind of thing. And she's absolutely one of our favorite people in the world. And Michael now has probably 30, maybe 40 friends that are either Afghan or there's somewhere, like there's one from Azerbaijan.
Okay.
There's one that's from what used to be, it's an African country. I can't remember the name of it. Eritrea? Anyway, Ethiopia? Maybe it was
Ethiopia. Etrian, I think something like that.
Something like that. Anyway, so I mean, it's crazy that he is like this incredible cross section of international friends, basically, right? And it's really cool. They're a cool group, and she could not be sweeter. There's no way. So I'll bet you guys know each other somehow. You know what I mean? Somehow. Because I found out it's a really tiny world of people that have come over here from Afghanistan. So I didn't know you were born there. That's wild.
Yeah.
So you grew up, for all intents and purposes, in San Diego. What was your favorite thing about growing up in San Diego?
My favorite thing, I think it was just the time with my family. I know you mentioned there's so many different people. There's like 80 people in a tiny house. Like when we first came to the San Diego, we had to we didn't have a lot of means, so we were getting some government support, and all of our family, my family, my aunts, uncles, grandparents, we all lived in the little tiny house together. And I just remember that being so fun. Probably not as much fun for my parents and older people. As a kid, I thought it was a blast. Everybody was everywhere, laying down and eating together, hanging out. Then eventually we got like our own apartment or house to rent. So we go from a tiny house with like 25, 30 people in it, and then to a second home where more people are dispersed. And then eventually we go to this place in Lemon Grove called Westview, and it's just this like community of people from Afghanistan, obviously other ethnicities there too, but it was my family, my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, they all had their apartment, and we would all just see each other like every week, go to each other's homes, have dinner together, have be there on the weekends. And it was just a great time and experience, just being together with family, me hanging out with my cousins, meeting people around, other people in the streets that were from Afghanistan, and started making friends with obviously people outside of Afghans. But it was just a really neat thing growing up and just having a little community, right? Because
Yeah.
when you first start, like, didn't speak English, so I was just learning, but having a community together, it felt good for us, and then also for my parents too. But anything, I'm just really big on family, and spending time with loved ones is just really, really um, important to me, and love that part of San Diego.
So now that you're a dad, I'll bet you appreciate even more how much your parents helped make your childhood so simple.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
now that we're parents, we look back and we're like, wow, you know, I mean, I don't, I just, it's something I appreciate a lot about my parents and how they raised me, because, you know, we had a lot of love growing up, right? A lot of family and a lot of, I mean, not everybody got along, but families don't always get along, you know what I mean? But we all loved each other, and it was cool.
Yeah, I think that's what it was all about. Like, we grew up on welfare, food stamps, but I didn't know that we were poor. I just knew that there was so much love and simple life.
Yeah.
And just my parents spent the time with me and my siblings, and we were just all together as a family with love, laughter, joy, and happiness. And those simple things meant the world to me.
Yeah. With all the stuff going on in Afghanistan, I bet they felt lucky to be here.
Oh, yeah, very much.
Amazing, right?
Especially leaving at that time, we were blessed and grateful. And now, and since we've left, has just been, unfortunately, a lot of chaos, and
Yeah.
it continues to be there. So I'm grateful and blessed that all my family, my immediate family, are here in the States, and grateful and blessed to be an American.
Yeah. So here's a question for you. So who was the most influential person to you growing up?
Huh. I think that's a question I get asked, and depending on where I'm at in my life, it can kind of go different ways. Obviously, I've had coaches. I played a lot of basketball, and I see them as mentors and teachers as well too. But I would say it was just my mom and dad. I think at the end of the day is just like how they were as human beings, as people, as leaders. I know they didn't have much, but they were just a leader, and showing like, hey, how you can live life without having much, and just being able to be true to yourself, take care of the people that you love, be trustworthy, honest, and just work hard. And there's opportunity, and they just kept on engraving that into me. And I think that it's a big reason who I am, is because of how I grew up and how my mom and dad influenced me. And unfortunately, my dad was only with us till I was 18, because he passed away
I'm
from a
sorry.
heart attack. Thank you. But again, those are things in life that shape you to the person you are today. But thankfully, my mom's still here with us and continues to be. She had a scare with cancer too, but she's beat that. It's just been a challenging life, but a blessed life. And I'm just fortunate and happy to have to go through the things I've gone through, and I am who I am is because of those life experiences.
Absolutely. Yeah. So where'd you go to high school?
I went to Helix High School in
Okay.
the Mesa area.
Okay.
Yeah, I played basketball there all 4 years. So I was a big, I never knew about basketball until like, I think it was seventh grade. I picked up a ball and just started playing. And then there was a middle school team for me to be a part of. And then I just loved it and started playing basketball and went to Helix. And Helix was a great school, great, obviously sports school. And later found out that basketball isn't going to be my career, then started getting really focused on schoolwork, and then met some good people that were smarter than me and just went full focused on school and did the whole ASB president. So early
there you
on, I
go.
started in leadership and just fell in love with that. It was just something I always wanted to do, is just continue to help influence, lead, and help others. And I was able to do that in high school.
Oh, wow. That's cool, man. So what was your favorite subject in high school?
My favorite subject in high school,
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.